Hello everyone, my name is Cody and I'm with the Emerald Coast Science Center, and today we are going to be talking about the science of sound. So sound is really cool. We hear it all the time, right? But we don't really think about it too much. It kind of just goes in through one ear and out the other, right? Yeah. So now some cool facts about sound are, sound is really fast. It can travel 767 miles per hour. And so sound travels really fast. The way sound travels is it causes vibrations in the molecules. So when sound travels through the air, it causes the vibration of the air molecules. And then that's why, so say up in space, there's no molecules up in space, right? So sound can't travel because if there are no molecules, sound can't vibrate those molecules if they're not there. So sound cannot travel in space, same within a vacuum, because vacuum is where there are no molecules as well, right? One cool thing about that though, so since there are no molecules up in space, there are molecules in the air, right? But there's a lot more molecules down in the ocean, right? In water, right? And so sound travels 4 times faster in the ocean, which is probably why dolphins are able to hear super far. They can hear super far, like 15 miles. I think it might be a little bit more than that, 15 miles away. And so sound can travel really fast in the water, which is really cool. Whenever you have a whip and you crack a whip like that, you hear the really loud noise when you crack a whip. So that noise that you're hearing is the whip is moving so fast that it breaks the speed of sound. It literally goes faster than the speed of sound. So that tip, whenever you hear it, the momentum builds up and it whips it and it breaks the speed of sound, which is really cool. With humans can hear from about 20 to 20,000 hertz, which is a measurement of frequency. And so we can talk about frequency a little bit and hertz itself. So hertz is the amount of waves per second. So let's say this is a second right here. We have 1 second right here. Frequency, so this is 1 second right here. So frequency would be the amount of waves in that second, right? And so this would be a decent frequency right here. And then a higher frequency would just mean that there would be more waves within that second, right? So that's a lot more waves within that 1 second. So you would hear a higher frequency. The pitch would be a little bit higher, and we'll be able to talk about that towards the end too. And so a low frequency would be a real low noise. It'd be like a ooh. You would hear it. It would go like this. That's a low frequency. So low frequency means there's less waves. High frequency means there's more waves within that 1 second, right? So sound is really cool. Dogs can hear a lot higher frequency than us. That's why they can sometimes hear things that we can't. There's a lot of times, as we get older, our hearing gets worse, right? So once you're young, you can hear a pretty high frequency. You're the one that's usually able to hear the 20,000 hertz. But as you get older, I can't hear 20,000. I tried listening to it on my phone a little bit ago, and I can't hear it. So I'm getting kind of old, right? But as it gets lower, people are able to hear it a little bit better. But let's talk about how we hear things, right? So right here, I drew up a drawing of an ear. If you can kind of tell, this is the outer ear right here, where it kind of allows, so sound will travels through the air, right? It vibrates, it causes vibration. So sound's going to travel, it's going to travel in waves, right? And it's going to go into the ear. And when it goes into the ear, it's going to start moving through this little tunnel. This is called the canal, the ear canal, right? The auditory canal. And right here, we know what's the first thing that it hits, right? It hits the eardrum, right? It starts beating on that drum, right? And so as soon as it hits the eardrums, it's causing vibrations with the eardrum, right? And so then we have 3 little auditory vesicles. They're auditory bones that help us hear. We have the malleus right here. This is the malleus, if you can see. It's this purple thing I drew right here. It's connected to the eardrum, right? So when the eardrum's vibrating, the vibrations are traveling up through the malleus. goes to the incus right here. The incus allows it to travel from the malleus into the stapes. And so the stapes is right here, and it's kind of like two little, I don't know what to call those, prongs, I guess. And they're beaten into the cochlea, right? And so this is the cochlea. The cochlea, a lot of times people that have bad hearing, they'll get cochlea implants, right? And that allows them to pick up the vibrations easier. And so the stapes, so whenever the vibrations are going, they're going through here, hitting the eardrum. That eardrum's going to be beaten, right? Goes to the malleus, the incus, then to the stapes where it's beaten into the cochlea. And inside the cochlea, we have really, really, really tiny hairs. And those tiny hairs are able to pick up all those vibrations. And then it'll travel. It goes all through here. And right here, we have auditory nerves, right? And so these nerves are able to pick up the signals from the cochlea and bring it to our brain. And so that's how we're able to process the sound, which is pretty interesting. And so all this, there's a lot of stuff that goes into how we hear, but we don't even think about it, right? Just because we just hear the sound. It's like, oh, that's a cool sound, or that's a weird sound, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes into how we hear and the process of that, which is pretty cool. Each person's different, right? Each person's going to have a slight difference in what they can hear or not. And that's all based on how our cochlea works, right? How well it can pick up those vibrations. And so we hear sounds all the time, right? But we also create sounds inside of our own body. So anything that's moving around is causing vibrations. That's how doctors are able to hear. And so they'll put, so I have it on backwards. So they'll put these right here, and usually they'll listen to our diaphragm. So our diaphragm can create vibrations. Our body will go, it'll usually end up in our diaphragm where we'll hear the vibrations, and that's how they can hear. So they have, usually along this is metal. Inside of it's metal. So it's usually aluminum, some sort of alloy, sometimes brass. But this allows all the sound to enter through here. And since it gets smaller, it's going to concentrate into this metal right here, and then it'll go into your ears where the sound will go through that whole process, right? And so this is how doctors are able to hear a little bit better. It amplifies it right here. It kind of sounds a little weird when you first hit it. It amplifies the sound to allow the doctors to hear your blood working. They can hear the food moving in your digestive system. They can hear all sorts of cool things, which is awesome to think about. But we are going to show you some frequencies, some cool frequencies. And let me go ahead and show you some things that you might be able to do at home if you have the equipment. So we have some string right here, and we have a fork. And so all you want to do is you want to tie the string to your fork. You can use a spoon. Really, it doesn't matter. Any type of silverware will work, right? And so you can have it hanging right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to wrap it around your finger, right? So I'm going to wrap it around my finger like this, and then I'm going to put it in my ear like this, okay? So when I put it in my ear, then I'm going to take something else and I'm going to hit the silverware with it. And then you tell me, if you guys are able to do this at home, go ahead and comment. Tell us what you hear. Tell us if it's anything interesting. Go ahead and give us a good description. It sounds pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and talk about it if you're not able to do it. If you are able to do it, I would kind of pause the video just so you can do it yourself, figure out the answer, and then that way I won't spoil it for you, right? So what happens when you hit it, right? So it's causing the vibrations. The vibrations are going to travel up the string. When they travel up the string, they're going to go into your ear, right? Because you're touching your ear. It's going up the string into your ear. We're going through the whole process again that we just talked about, which is pretty interesting. But something that you can do to stop the vibrations, let me show you. So say, here, I'll do it with this. This is a little bit easier to show you with. Right here. So we got this long coil, right? And then we got kind of this cardboard little cylinder that allows the sound to exit out through here. So what's going to happen is we're going to vibrate this a lot, and it's going to allow the vibrations to go up The vibration is going to travel up this metal into the cylinder, and it's going to amplify the sound. And so you can hear it. Watch. Sounds like a thunderstorm, doesn't it? Let me get a little bit closer. All right. It's a big thunderstorm. And so what happens whenever we stop the vibrations, right? I'm going to start it. You can see it's still shaking, right? It's still vibrating, but it's not right here. It's only vibrating down below my arm. So watch this. It's still vibrating below, but it's not making any noise, right? No. So what happens is I don't have more than 3 arms, or more than 2 arms. I wish I had 3 arms. So what happens is the vibrations are traveling up. Once I grab that, they're still traveling up, but they're not passing my arm. The vibrations are actually entering my arm, and they're being absorbed into my body. So that's why you don't hear the sound, because the vibrations leave this metal, go into my arm, and they don't go through the cardboard or through the cylinder, right? And so that's why whenever you want to try to test like a frequency of something, you never want to be holding it, because that's going to absorb some of the vibrations. And then you won't be able to get a good enough measurement on that frequency, right? And so I have all these glasses right here because I did have some tuning forks, but the tuning forks are kind of hard to hear unless you put them up right to your ear. And you can hear all sorts of different frequencies. You can hear high frequencies, right, which means there's a lot of waves within that second, or you can hear low frequencies, which means there's just a small amount of waves within that second, right, like we talked about. But I have all these glasses, and I'm going to test out the frequencies. It's going to be kind of hard to tell whether they're high or low. With each one, you'll be able to tell a little bit of a difference. So you might be able to tell if one's higher than the other. But some of them are a little bit difficult, so you won't know which one's higher or lower than the other one. But we can still test it out, right? Before I go and show you that, I want to talk about resonant frequency. Okay? So resonant frequency is the frequency at which things vibrate the easiest, right? So it's the amount of hertz that allows, so say we have this glass right here, the resonant frequency of the glass is however much frequency the glass will vibrate the easiest, right? So what I can do here is I can take a little bit of water, and so the resonant frequency of glass is right in between the human's ability to hear, right? So the frequency lies just within our ability to hear certain frequencies, and so we're able to hear the resonant frequency just by doing this. Watch this. Hear that? So did that one sound a little bit lower? That one sounds a little bit higher. So this one has more waves within that second than this one, right? And so there's a lot of forces that go into this play, right? Sounds so cool. I like doing it. And it's really not hard to do. All you gotta do is dip your finger in some water. You can get some glasses. It'll work. It works really well with these wine glasses, but you can get a lot of other glasses and do it. But it's really easy to do. And then this one's pretty hard to do. It's not. I keep almost getting it, and then there we go. That one's really high, right? So that one had a really high frequency compared to this one. And so I can also hit it to hear the frequency, right? You can hear it. And the longer you hear the noise, that's how long it's vibrating, right? And so as the noise starts to go down, it's starting to vibrate less and less, and then it'll get back to its normal resting frequency, right? Its normal vibrations. And so whenever I'm hitting it, it's vibrating a lot, and it'll slowly die down. And the dying down of the vibration is called the damping force. Okay, so there's a lot of different types of damping forces. Pretty much that just means the resistance of the vibrating motion. So let's say a swing. If you're swinging on a swing, whenever you swing, you have to keep pumping the swing, right? And then air resistance is stopping you. There's a lot of factors that are stopping you from continuously moving, right? And so that is considered a damping force, air resistance, and then there's a lot of other stuff too, like maybe the chains on the swing aren't moving as easily. That's slowing you down a little bit. But so that's damping force, just the resistance of vibratory motions, right? And so the damping force with glasses will change, right? So I have this big glass right here. I can move a little bit closer. The damping force of this one is pretty strong because it won't ring for long. You hear that? It rings for a little bit, but then it doesn't stick. Whereas that'll stick, right? You hear that for a while. Right? And so the damping force of this glass, it's also really thick, right? It's really thick glass. It won't vibrate as easily. Then we have this one too. So that's able to vibrate a little bit longer. This has a lower frequency, right? When you hear it, that one has a higher one. So sound is really cool. The science of sound is really cool. And then whenever you're playing with the science of sound, you create music, right? So right? So that's creating music. And so music is just the combination of a bunch of different frequencies. And that's the science of sound, right? So sound is really cool. And I like to create new experiments with sound. I tried doing this one, but I didn't really get it to work too well. It was going to be a little bit complicated, but I'm going to still work on it and see if I can get it. And I'll kind of keep that a surprise. If I can do it, I don't want to say what the experiment is and then not be able to do it and then let all y'all down. So I'll keep working on it, and then if I get it to work, trust me, I'll let you know because I want to show everybody. But yeah, that is the science of sound. So thank you for sticking with us for the Emerald Coast Science Center behind the scenes, and we hope to see y'all again.